Welcome back. We're playing Trail of the Wretched. Could you believe that? This will be the final episode. Very sad. But there's only so much game to play. Anyway, last episode, what did we do? We watched someone get shot, then we found Louise again. Then we confessed our love to her, which didn't go terribly. And then she got shot. And now we're like on our way to a doctor. So things really heated up in that last episode. And now they're ending. And this is Ray, who was also on the train with us. We're going to the doctor's. You and Ray lift Louise up the steps of the doctor's office and push through the front door. Looking around, there's nobody in the room. Yeah, where the hell? Not much of a doctor's. Is anybody here? Somebody's dying. We need help. For a moment you're met with silence, and suddenly a man runs in from one of the back rooms. What? What is it? What a cool dude. Has some nice glasses. My reference, or the person I said, hey, draw this character based on this person, was Tom Hardy Bronson because of the glasses. I don't know why I picked Bronson for some random doctor, but hey, it works. He stares at you for a moment before noticing Louise lying on the floor beside him, covered in blood. Yeah, she's dying, if you hadn't made that obvious yet. Oh dear. Yes, okay. Help me lift her into the back quickly. Lift her up. The doctor grabs Louise's legs and you grab her shoulders. Then you lift her towards one of the doors on the back wall. In here, hurry up. You shuffle into a small room with a wooden table in the center and various medical devices and concoctions lining the walls. Up, lift her up. Is she going to die? No, let's just... You and the doctor lift Louise up and lay her down on the operating table. Ray stands in the doorway chewing his nails. Eliza, get in here. Short curly-haired woman runs into the room from the doorway opposite you. Help me out here, please. Eliza runs around the room, pulling open drawers and gathering various items. You stand there frozen, completely out of place. Well, entirely out of place. You two, out. I don't need you in here. Come back tomorrow morning and check on her. Till then, I need some space. Get out of his hair. He has no hair. Let's just leave him. Take one last look at Louise, then step outside to the front part of the office. Ray follows you. The doctor's assistant shuts the door behind you. God, that was a close one. I thought she was done for. We don't know if she's gonna live yet. She's in out of the woods. Well, we've done all we could do. That's what matters, I think. It's nice to have a positive character in the game. If only one positive character out of many. You begin to feel lightheaded. A voice in your head screams, then your vision darkens and you lose your balance. Ray watches as you stumble backwards and land in a conveniently placed chair. You okay, mister? Clearly not. Seen far too much this last week. Think I'm sliding off the edge. All you need is a good feed. Don't worry, we'll get that sorted soon enough. Yeah, we haven't really eaten a lot. I think, there's a few gaps in the story where we could have eaten, but in terms of, I think we ate like half a can of beans and a biscuit. So it's not looking good. It takes a few minutes before your vision sharpens and you regain a little bit of strength. Ray grabs your hands and pulls you upright. Good? Good. What are we doing now? I don't know. Who knows? I don't know. What do you think? I was thinking we could just hang around till tomorrow, like the doctor said. I got a shipment of rifles to collect, but that ain't till tomorrow afternoon. You mind if I tag along? Sure. Yeah, you can come along. Maybe you'll be able to keep me out of trouble. Oh, that's dandy. Dandy. I don't think I've ever heard someone say that word, like in a real life situation. It's just something I hear on or read in books. Usually people just try and avoid me on account of the fact that I talk a lot. Beats talking to the sheriff, that it does. On that note, you'd better hope the sheriff is well and truly dead, because we're going to have some problems if he isn't. Yeah, we hit him off the train, but we didn't actually, see him die definitively. He just fell off into the snow. Let's get out of this place. It smells weird. Ray walks out the front door into the main street of Hatstand. You follow and take the opportunity to get your bearings. Let's look to the east. Looking east, you see a wooden bridge crossing a small river and the train station beyond it. Ray's steam engine sits there quietly. You didn't even realise you'd crossed a bridge as you carried Louise to the doctor's. Everything these past 2 days has been a blur of woe. Oh, to move my steam engine. I think it's in the way of the other trains. I'm not entirely sure how trains work during this time. I don't know how many there is. In this world, there's a lot because cars don't exist. Can you believe that? Ray runs off in full sprint, his arms flailing about wildly. He drops his hat halfway across the bridge and has to pull up to grab it. You see a man walk out of the station and approach Ray. He points at the idle steam engine and his lips are moving rapidly, but you're too far away to hear what is said. Ray just nods and jumps into the driver's cabin before moving the train forward out of your view. A few minutes pass before Ray finally returns, completely out of breath. He has your camera case in his hand. Alright, we're good now. That man in the suit weren't too happy with me. He hands your case to you. Thought you might need this for taking photos and the like. Yeah, Ray's kind of the only character in this game who sort of speaks as though he's from this time period, which I think it's just easier to write a sort of goofy character in that manner. But if you want to write serious stuff, it's a lot harder to write it in a way that makes sense for the time period, which I could have just done lots of research, but I didn't have the time to do lots of research, so I just had to write this game sort of in a modern sort of vocabulary, which is fine because, who cares? It's not that important. This is a fictional world. They can talk however they want. West is the rest of the town. At the very end is a saloon, much larger than the one you saw earlier in Cascade. The sun on the roof leads Lady Greens. The whole building is painted in a deep shade of green, entirely distinct from the brown tones dominating the rest of the town. Yeah, that's this building. It isn't green in this review just because I've got a colour scheme to maintain. That doesn't mean I can't say it's green, so you just have to imagine that building being green. I usually just sleep in my train, but if you want a proper bed, you can go stay there for the night. Noted. Opposite the saloon is the stables, judging by the row of horses hitched out the front. Even further west is the Vale, looming over the entire town. Yeah, that's something I probably, if I were to make this game again, I would make more 3D objects, especially the mountains. But I'm not sure how I would model that, because it's kind of hard to model mountains on a 2D map without it looking odd. Because in its current form, they're just drawn pictures, 2D pictures that are flat, and you only see them when you're from the bird's eye view. But I would feel like a shot like this would be really cool if you had huge mountains in the background, kind of looming over, as I've described here. But that is very hard to do in a convincing manner. I think there's a gold mining town way up there in those mountains. I forget the name. I've seen the boats that come in from there though. Those guards I have are armed to the teeth. Yeah, I'm talking about Last Hope, which is marked on the map, and I think you can see it just briefly. You never go there, but that was the one of the first things I did for the game was I came up with all the town names because I just liked maps. So I'm like, I'm going to make a map for the game first, and that kind of informed the rest of the story that I wrote around it. But Last Hope was where I wanted the game to end. That was where Louise wanted to go originally, but I felt the game was getting a bit lengthy at that point and I needed to finish it. So it ends here in Hatstand, which spoilers, but yeah, the game is almost finished. Look east toward the river and witness the first brick building you've encountered on this continent. No, I don't care about that. Time to go. Alright, let's go. I need to take some photographs. Yeah, we're a photographer. Almost forgot about that part. Gallows, stables, saloon, or Lady Greens. If you go to Lady Greens at this point in the story, you get locked out of these two. I'm not going to do both. I'll do the gallows because I think it's funny, but yeah, if you're playing and you want to get all the content, skip the saloon and go to these two first, and then go here. Alright, let's go to the gallows. Jeez, it's a very bleak image. I like it. You approach the wooden structure. A noose hangs from the beam above, swinging in the wind. I always wondered why they would just leave the rope hanging there like that. Yeah, it's a warning. They leave it there to remind everyone what's waiting for them. Maybe that'll make them think twice before they do something they shouldn't. Oh, well, it mustn't work then. People get hanged here all the time. I've seen at least 3 from all the times I've been here, and I've only been here 3 times. Let's go up and look at it, because we're weird. You climb up the steps and get a closer look at the noose that hangs from the crossbeam. The wooden floorboards creak as you shift your weight back and forth. The trapdoor below is open, revealing nothing but dirt underneath. One of the many gates to hell. Put your head in the noose. What? Yeah, what? Put your head in the noose. Sure. You grab the swinging rope and lift the noose up to your head slowly. Mister, maybe don't do that. What the hell are you doing? Yeah, didn't you just tell me to put my head in the noose? Nobody told you to put your head in the noose. You told yourself to do that. That's concerning. Yes, it is. Maybe you should get away from here. You let go of the noose and step down off the platform. Ray waits with a concerned look on his face. I'm not sure why I included this conversation in the game. I think it's good that it's in the game, but I can't like remember my thought process. I'm like, oh yeah, I need to have a noose in the game. But it's just a nice scene that's sort of, I say it like a bit of levity, but considering what you're doing, you're like fantasizing putting your head in a noose. It's very macabre and kind of not actually that funny when you think about it from a higher level. But nonetheless, we did it. You had me scared for a second, yeah. Especially when there's other people around, like watching you do it. Like that kind of elevates the what the hell are you doing factor. You're scaring the children. Pull yourself together. Yeah, sorry. Not sure what happened there. Just something went wrong in the brain. Radius on slowly. Time to leave. Turn back to the main street and walk away from the gallows. Alright. If I don't do the stables, this will be a very short episode, but... Oh, there's Last Hope, by the way, at the top right. Yeah, that was where the game was initially going to end. In my imaginary script that I never actually thought of. It was just... Game will end at Last Hope, and that was the end of it. But... It's there. Just for a bit of world building. I think Big River is also in the game. I don't know if you can see it at any point, but... Yeah, you can just see it at the bottom left. Big River exists. Because it's name dropped constantly in the game, but you never actually see it. And that was just a side effect of the fact that I drew the map and all the places before I actually wrote a story. Which isn't a bad thing because it kind of gives the impression of a larger world that you're just existing in. Because this is a minor pet peeve of mine, but like games with maps where you go everywhere. Like it's like a world tour. We have to hit all the places, and it feels kind of very superficial, especially from like a story sense, because you're just like going everywhere, but that doesn't feel real because it's like, all right, we made this place, so you have to visit it, which is boring. But I want to have places that you don't have to visit, which I guess I could bring up Elden Ring as like a good example because there's loads of places in that game you can just completely ignore, and I enjoy that aspect of the game a lot because it's nice to have places you find for yourself rather than the story kind of just throwing you there. Well, that doesn't really apply to this game because you could never actually go to the Big River, but it's there. It's there. Maybe in a future 10 years from now sequel. Alright, let's go to the saloon. I'm just wasting time now. Ooh. Darkness creeps into the world once more as the sun falls behind the veil. The saloon before you stands tall and proud. Yeah, this is the only instance of like actual lighting in the game. Like everywhere else in the game is just flat, well not flat, but there is no lights outside of just the directional light from the sun. And I feel like that gives this a pretty unique look compared to the rest of the game, which is good because, spoilers, this is the final conversation of the entire game. What else was I going to say? Oh, yeah, I originally had all these, like, these are all like point lights, which are just little like entities that cast light. They were all casting shadows. I think there was like 20 of them. And when I was playtesting towards the end of development, I really needed to optimize it because I had to play it on my laptop because I was doing a few like showcases and I couldn't bring my desktop to the showcase. So I had to play it on my laptop and my laptop was struggling. I'm like, oh my God, I actually have to optimize it now. And so I basically spent like 3 days just going through every object in the game and like, all right, is this bad for performance? And I optimized it to within an inch of its life, like through like just lowering texture quality or removing like shadow casting lights, and it only improved the performance by like 5 FPS or something on my laptop. And then I realized the map, like the 2D map that you're playing on, that's a single image, just like a transparent image, which I doubt that's the most optimized way to do it, just having a super, like, I think it's like 12,000 by 8,000 pixels wide, which is pretty ridiculous. But that was casting shadows, and a transparent image of that size casting shadows is like murderous for performance. And of course I was playing on my desktop, so I didn't even realize. But when I put it on my laptop, I turned the shadows off on that object, and bam, magically fixed all my performance problems, and I didn't need to waste 3 days going through all those bloody assets and fixing all like the tiny optimization shit. So that's the lesson. If your game doesn't work, or if it runs terribly, there's probably an object casting a shadow that shouldn't be. Alright, let's go into the saloon. The man staggered through the front doors with a bottle in hand, then trips down the stairs and falls face first into the mud. This is the point in the game where I wanted you to... Originally there was 3 options here. There was help him up, leave him be, or say something profound, which we've been saying, like, profound things that aren't really profound the entire game. But this was the instance where I'm like, all right, we need to actually say something profound for real. And so I spent a long time trying to think of something like, hey, what would be a good thing to say to this guy on the ground that's profound? And I couldn't think of anything. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute. This kind of goes against my whole... the point of that joke about being profound is that you're never going to be profound if you just think you're profound. And so I just said, stuff it. The main character never gets to be profound ever. And that's like his punishment in life. Let's help him up. Step over to the man and lay your hand on his shoulder. A muffled grunt and an elbow in your leg tells you this man does not require assistance. He is at peace in the mud, and he will not be moved. He'll be okay, I think. Let's go inside. Oh, I'm noticing a lot of like grammar mistakes right now. It's probably just a side effect of the fact that this was written like last. This was the final conversation I wrote, I think. And therefore, it was one I read the least. So it's just inherent that there was going to be spelling mistakes. But it's really pissing me off right now. Because it means I want to go update the game, but that in itself is a pain. Stuff. Spelling mistakes, who cares? Just imagine there's no spelling mistake and you won't even notice it. Make your way around the mud man and head up the steps to the Lady Greets. Ray follows closely behind. Stop right there. This appears to be an adult-oriented establishment. Are you sure you want to be bringing a child in here? Yeah, if you speak to this guy at the stables before you go here, he reveals to you that this place is like a brothel. And so this adult-oriented establishment kind of makes more sense. I mean, it's a saloon in a Western time. It's pretty much guaranteed to have salacious activities happening. Yeah, we probably shouldn't bring him in here. Ray, given the adult nature of this saloon, perhaps you ought to just wait outside. Get out of here. I've been in this building before. They love me. He will not be told otherwise. Alright. Push through the swing doors and step into a wide open room, littered with every sort of individual one could think of. A bar spans the length of the back wall, behind which are 3 bartenders, all dressed in green. Green hats, green dresses, green gloves. A grand staircase leads to the upper level. Men in suits hang over the railing, smoking cigars, and keeping watch over the patrons below. In the center of the room are numerous tables, facilitating all sorts of gambling. You watch one man throw his deck of cards down on the table and storm into a back room. He passes by a woman in front of the bar. Midway through swallowing an entire shot glass, crowd cheers her on as she performs her routine. Don't do that. I'm not entirely sure if this is impossible. I feel like this might end badly. I just threw it in there as like a, wow, this place is crazy. But that might be like a really bad idea. I mean, of course it's a bad idea. Don't do that. Quite the place, ain't it? You catch the eye of a mysterious woman leaning against the back wall. She gives you a nod, then walks away, weaving through the sea of drunkards and gamblers blocking the path. Ray leans in to whisper to you. She's the boss. The woman now stands before you. Her eyes dart up and down as she looks you over. I haven't seen you before. Tell me what that is. That's Lady Green. Okay, so subtitle didn't give it away. Or the fact that it's said right there. Yeah, she's the boss. Before you can enter, Ray butts in. Him and me just got here this morning. We left his lady friend at Isaac's since she got shot by some crazy sheriff. It's a long story, miss. I think I've told you multiple times that I don't want you in here, Ray. So how about you go do something else, okay? Really? I'm not that... I don't want to hear it. Outside, now. Ray sighs. Oh, can't blame me for trying. He turns around and heads toward the front door, then pauses. I'll see you tomorrow, mister. Come find me by my train over the river. I'll cook breakfast. That sounds amazing. Sure thing, see you tomorrow. Ray salutes you, then steps out the swing doors. Good kid. Too good for this world. She looks you over once again. I hope you don't mind me saying, but you look terrible. Just terrible. Yeah, I can't imagine what we actually look like right now. We've been dragged around for the last week. Oh yeah, I would like a bath, please. That's why I'm here. I need to get myself cleaned up, and I thought this would be the place. You're in luck then. You can rent a bed for the night if you'd like. Every room has a bath. Rent. No money, you remember? Yeah. That was established very early on in the game that we are poor, but our soul is rich. Let's bargain. Bad news, I'm short on money at the moment. Could you just let me stay in the room and I'll pay you tomorrow? Jeez. Lady Green narrows her eyes and purses her lips. It's impossible to tell what she's thinking. As she stands there motionless, a man stumbles past her and knocks your camera case from her grip. Lady Green raises her hand into the air and snaps her fingers. Two suits run down the staircase towards the man that knocked you, grab him by his collar, then throw him out the front door. He screams in pain as he hits the wooden planks. Yeah, I don't think that was necessary. All it did was bump into me. It's a dangerous business. I always make sure my workers and patrons are safe. She looks down to the case lying beside you. What have you got in there? Yeah, it's my camera, and you're not getting that. Before you ask, no, I'm not going to pay with that. Camera. How about I take it as a collateral then? You leave it with me. I keep it safe till you pay what's owed, and everyone is happy. Let's think about it. What's there to think about? Give her the camera case or end up in the streets? Let's keep the camera. No, the camera stays with me. So be it. I'm running a business. My services cost money, believe it or not. Shit. Hold on. Maybe Ray can pay for your room. He's bound to have some money. Yeah, let's go ask a teenager for money. That's... No. What choice do you have? I'll just sleep on the street. You'll freeze and die. Or get pissed on by some drunk. Probably both. Yeah, it's not looking good right now. Yeah, we have to ask him. Excuse me for a moment, miss. You turn and run out the front door after Ray. You see him wandering around just up the street talking to someone. Ray, come here for a second. Ray pats the person he was talking to on the shoulder, then runs over to you. What do you need? Give me money, child, or a little help, please. Let's not beat around the bush. I need some money to pay for a room. Could you give me some? Why didn't you ask me earlier? Of course I'll give you money. Pulls out a wad of cash from his pocket and places it in your hands. Keep the lot. I don't need it. Man, this kid is awesome. Let's go along with it. Thanks for that. Always happy to help a friend out. Look at that, we've made a single friend on this journey. Well, maybe two if you count Louise. You should ask children for money more often. This is a lucrative market with some serious potential. Gross. Get back on inside. Lady Green ain't the sort to be kept waiting. You give her a nod of approval, then head back inside. Lady Green stands where you left her, tapping her feet along with the piano. Oh, you've returned. With money, I hope. She holds out her hand expectantly. Single note, let's see what happens. Place the note gently into her hand. She looks down at it, then back at you. That's the signal to keep going. You place another, then another, one more, and she finally closes her hand around the notes. Pleasure doing business. Lady Green turns toward a woman at the other side of the room and nods. The woman promptly heads up the staircase and into the hallway out of sight. Your room will be ready in no time. With a bath? Well, she said that. I appreciate the hospitality. It's what I'm known for. Now it's time to wait. You stand and listen to the piano playing in the background. I've not heard the notes before. They sound oddly familiar. Remind you of something. Distant memory now slipping away. Let it go. We've tried remembering the past and it doesn't go well. The memory fades into the far reaches of your consciousness, never to be heard from again. Lady Green taps you on the shoulder. You're a daydreamer. Come on, your room is ready. Yeah, we are a daydreamer. Like half of the writing in this game is literally you just thinking to yourself, while the other characters wait for you to say something. She leads you up the grand staircase and to the right. The men in suit hanging over the railing eye you suspiciously, before determining you pose no threat. Yeah, I imagine the guys in suits wearing like bowler hats, kind of like the Pinkertons, Down a hallway, then another right, and finally at the front door of a room. Lady Green swings it open and motions you in. We will see each other again tomorrow. You walk into the room and Lady Green shuts the door behind you. Like everything else in this saloon, the room is green. 2 windows covered by green curtains. A bed in the centre and a huge tub filled with steaming water by the back wall. All in all, pretty damn good. Let's take a bath. You undress and place your things on the floor beside the tub. Stepping in reveals it's slightly too hot, but you don't care. Down you slide into the warm embrace of the water. You sit there motionless and thoughtless. It doesn't take long for the water to turn into a sickly mixture of blood and dirt. Yeah, that's kind of the worst part about baths, is the water doesn't go anywhere. And especially if you've been like trudging through the wilderness for the last week, it's going to get ugly pretty quickly. 15 minutes pass and the water has gone cold. You drag yourself out of the tub and get dressed. Yeah, I would like some food. You walk over to the door and open it. To your surprise, there's a plate of food just sitting there at your feet. A bowl of soup and bread. Pick the plate up and sit it on the table beside the bed. There's a note on the side. It reads, "This one is on the house." Yeah, before this point you kind of get the impression that Lady Green is like a business comes first. Like, she doesn't give a shit who you are. If you don't have money, she's going to tell you to go away. But free food, yeah. You vacuum up the soup, then the bread. There is no time to consider the qualities of the meal. Once the meal is finished, you place the plate outside the front door, then walk back and sit on the side of the bed. You sense the beginnings of a terrible headache forming in your skull. Best to get to sleep before it eventuates. Yeah, that's a pro tip. If you're gonna get a headache, just go to sleep. Doctors hate this one trick. Go to sleep. You lift yourself up onto the bed and lower your head onto the pillow. Eyes closed, breathing steady. Is it just you or is it really hot in this room? And gone. I'm kind of implying that you're getting like a fever at this point in the game. And that explains the events that are about to happen. Well, not the events, but the scene that's going to happen. And this is probably the most abstract scene of the game. I mean, the game is not abstract at all up until this point. No thoughts, no nothing. Then images begin forming. Things that don't quite add up. Thoughts that only the subconscious could conjure. Ooh. Standing on a beach. To either side of you, the sand extends as far as the eye can see. Turning around, you see 5-story tall dunes blocking your exit. A crowd of people stand at the top, pointing out to the horizon. Yeah, this is like near where I used to live, like way out in the country in the middle of nowhere. You go to 90 Mile Beach, which was like, as the name implies, it was a 90-mile long beach. And if you like stand on the beach, look out in either direction, it's kind of like weird because it's like it's basically like this minus the like stars and the very polygonal water, but it's a bit surreal because you're not really used to seeing beaches that are like stretch off into infinity, and it's pretty cool. And also the really tall dunes like exacerbate that really weird vibe. Alright, what is this about a crowd of people? A crowd of people stand at the top pointing out to the horizon. Wind blows in from the sea, carrying voices of men, women and children calling your name. Where are you? Why did you leave? I feel like that's like kind of a I was listening to a lot of like Slowdive, the what's it called? Just for a Day, their debut album. And I feel like that album, like a lot of the time, is talking about like voices across the sea and stuff like that. And that's kind of why I included that line. It was just subconsciously in my brain because I was listening to that album. I'm alive. Don't forget about me. The voices fade to a whisper, then dissolve into the breeze. That's sick. I'm gonna ruin the illusion. This star thing I did on accident. Because I always wanted, like, for this scene, I wanted stars in the background. I didn't really know the best way to do it because in Unity there's like 50 different ways you can do like a skybox. And my method I figured out was get a big sphere and then just project it's a spattering of dots on it. And they're like emissive dots. And then they were just going to be static for the most part. But then I accidentally animated the offset. I don't know how I accidentally did that, but I did. I animated the offset of the texture. And when you do that on a sphere, because the UV, like the way the UVs work on a sphere, it's kind of odd. All the stars like converge on a singular point. And it's really, really cool when you offset it in an animation. And that's how I got the stars to like do that flying across the screen thing. The stars in the sky shift and morph. The beach falls from your feet and you drift away into the void. And then this one is just a camera movement. Which itself is pretty trippy because like, it's hard to explain why it's trippy, but it's all very unnatural. The world forms again and you're standing on the platform of a train station. All around you people are waiting, but you can't see their faces. Beyond the platform is the vast expanse of the universe. Little droplets of milk spatter the canvas, blinking and shimmering. Milky Way. I think that's why I described it as milk. It's a good way to describe it, and what else would it be? It's little white droplets, milk. Step away, we're not falling off into that. You slowly step back from the edge of the platform. The person grabs your shoulder, turns you around. They have no face. You instinctively reel back and slip off the platform into the abyss. Oh. That's funny because the game I'm making now has like actual character models in it. They look like shit at the moment, but none of them have faces. And yeah, it's a pretty weird looking image. I don't know, something about no face people is just odd. I wonder why. You fall for an eternity, shimmers of light flying past at impossible speeds. It is completely silent, save for your breathing and the beating of a heart. Ooh, we've been here before. The world turns grey once more, and you land in a pool of water. Looking up, you see a forest and horses. Surrounding you in the water are bodies, face down, dead. The water turns red and your skin begins to burn. You scream, but there is no sound. Two hands grab you and pull you out of the blood and onto the snowy ground. Then the hands wrap themselves around your neck and crush your windpipe. Submit or make it stop. Well, we're dreaming right now, and at least in my dreams, if I ever like try and like throw a punch or something, it's like I'm trying to throw a punch underwater. It's weird. So I feel like trying to make it stop is going to do nothing. Submit. You accept your fate in this cruel world and let the light die. This is a very vivid dream. Then the hands light up and disappear. A man stands over your half-dead body, a sinister grin on his awful face. Miss me? Oh god. Fuck off, die, burn in hell. Very diverse range of options here. Die. You're dead. You're not allowed here. Seems like you don't understand the situation. What does that mean? You fade into the mist. You're on your knees. You feel the cold barrel of a gun sticking into your temple. Is the camera ready? You look up and see a camera on a tripod pointing at you. Behind it stands you. Another thought of you is Weber and the sheriff. You try to break free but cannot move. The you behind the camera takes the cap off the lens and waits. You catch his eye, he catches yours. Yes, please help me. Please. 10 seconds pass. Done? Done. Yeah, in case it wasn't obvious, this scene is like a recreation of the scene earlier in the game when the sheriff domes Nikita Lotti. But this time, in your dream, you are Nikita Lotti, or you're kind of in his position. And this is us, sort of, in our hat. It's telling us to wake up. Oh, fun fact. If you look at the sheriff's thing during this portion of the game, it just says that. It doesn't always say that, it only says it during the dream sequence. Which I don't know why you would be reading the sheriff's thing at this point in the game, but for anyone who does, look at that. Alright, I'm not going to read this because this is an important moment of the game that I'm just ruining the pacing of. Sweet dreams. And then, bang. You're awake, covered in sweat. Sunlight seeps into the room from a gap in the curtains. You hear voices in the street below the window. Yeah, the colour scheme has changed. Just to indicate that, new day. Hey, this is like a throwback. Stay in bed a little longer. Get out of bed and see what's happening, you fucking dolt. Yeah, I think this is like at the very start of the game when you're on the boat, and it's like, hey, get out of bed and see what's happening. If you choose to stay in bed, it says this, like this exact wording. But if you do the same again here, the game mentions like, hey, this is the second time you've done this. What are you doing? Just like meaningless. Choices have consequences, guys, I swear. Slide off the side of the bed and collect your thoughts. The commotion in the street slowly fades away, as though the source of the noise moved somewhere else. Before you can look out the window to find what's happening, the door bursts open. Sleep well? Yeah, who could have seen this coming? How? Come on, we're going to the show. His face is covered in bruises and scars, but beyond that he seems entirely uninjured. I wasn't done with you. I got plans, remember? He pulls his golden revolver from his hip and points it at you. Let's go with him. You step forward to the sheriff with your head down. Yeah, we've given in at this point. You got no fight. You're worthless. He grabs you by your hair, then drags you out the door and down the hallway. Workers and patrons watch in shock as you writhe about behind the sheriff. Keep your feet. We've got a few steps to go down. It's impossible to keep your feet. You just ragdoll down the steps, the sheriff's grip on your mane never loosening. The men in suits do nothing but watch. One even tips his hat to the sheriff. Lady Green is nowhere to be seen. Through the front swing doors and out into the mud, the sun shines on your face as you're dragged further into the street. You hear the sound of a crowd jeering, but cannot turn your neck far enough to see anything beyond the clouds in the sky. Nearly there. Yeah, I doubt anybody's going to help us. You just close your eyes and wait for it to be over. Eventually the sheriff stops. You just not let go of your hair. You desperately struggle to get to your feet, but to no avail. Can you guess where we are? Train station? Nah. This man deserves no response. Get up and look. He finally releases his grip on your hair. You stand up straight and look around. In front of you is a crowd. The one you heard earlier, most likely. They're crowded beneath the gallows. I really like this shot. The way the noose is hanging between the trees in the building. This is I've said this multiple times in real life, that this game is extremely heavily influenced by like just movies and cinema and like cinematography, which especially for scenes like this, like I spend a lot of time framing stuff because I've made like short films, you know, just for like media in school and stuff, and I immensely enjoyed it. Even though I'm making games, I'd probably be making films if I wasn't making games. Yeah, this game is very, I guess, cinematic. Cinematic is a very strong word and might be overselling what I'm doing here, but I spend a lot of time on like framing images, which fits the photography theme of the game as well, because like this, like the way the vignette of this scene, like it's kind of like rounded, kind of like kind of like old school photography, how like old images were in like these rounded squares, or most, some of them, not all of them, but you get what I'm saying. And like framing and the way like, I'm not going to bring up like rule of thirds because that's like baby's first cinematography, but you know the way things all flow into one cohesive image. It took me a while to get this scene to look actually like worth looking at, in short, and I spent a lot of time thinking about it. Even if I'm writing all this, I think I'm more influenced by movies and films and the way they're shot as opposed to like novels or other pieces of writing. Let's get a little closer. Jeff grabs you once more and drags you to the front of the crowd. A group of important looking people are gathered beside the gallows, deep in discussion. There's more people behind them, but you can't see who. Somebody is getting hanged today. Why are we here? Did you drag me out here just to watch someone get hanged? Be quiet and you'll find out. A man in a suit steps up onto the gallows and inspects the noose. He pulls it, yanks it, and twists it before giving a nod of approval and heading back down the steps. The crowd get louder. They see someone die and they want it now. Here she comes. He watches two men carry a woman up the steps onto the platform of the gallows. It's Louise. Yeah. Her eyes are barely open. A bandage is wrapped around her stomach. The men lead Louise over to the noose and lift it over her head. The crowd gets even louder. Stop. She's innocent. Yeah, she's innocent. Your voice is drained out by the roar of the mob. Nobody hears you. There's nothing you can do. The noose is fastened around Louise's neck. The men step away and leave her alone. She has barely enough strength to keep her feet. Look at her eyes. You see it? You can't bring yourself to look. The fire's gone out. It's... He pauses to find an adequate descriptor. Beautiful. The man at the side of the gallows stands ready to pull the switch. Another counts down from 10. 10. 9. 8. Time stops. The world is silent. Louise looks down and your eyes meet. I kept my promise, remember? What's happening? Is this real? You're better than me. You deserve more. It doesn't matter. I told you how I felt. I don't care. Louise smiles and closes her eyes for the last time. 7. 6. 5. Yeah, that was fucking depressing. I say that as the person who wrote it. I got this idea like, oh, I'm gonna have ending Louise getting hanged, and I was very unsure about that because I liked her character. I'm like, oh, maybe she shouldn't die. But all like the stuff I've been throwing in the game up until that point, I guess it's thematically, it just makes, this is a contentious point, but I think thematically it would make sense. It wouldn't make sense for there to be a happy ending. And thus, that ending arose from it. Which, yeah, not everyone's going to like it. I know one person didn't like it, so shout out to Steam discussion threads. that person, he said, "We're not making No Country for Old Men." And I said, actually, I didn't reply. I thought, no, we're not making No Country for Old Men. Because not every film with a, or not everything with a decisive or indecisive ending is No Country for Old Men, but I understand where he's coming from. It's a very unsatisfying ending. And if you don't like the ending, it's probably going to sour your feelings on the rest of the game because it's sort of short, sort of 2 hours long or hour and a half. And when the ending is something you don't like, it kind of sullies the rest of your feelings. But that's the risk I'm willing to take. Because if someone gets some emotional impact from that, emotional reaction, then I'll be happy. Yeah, the ending can play out in a few different ways, or I say a few. There are like, at the ending, she always gets hanged, Louise. So the ending is always the same no matter what, and that's just how it is. I'm sorry to say. But there's a few, like, the dialogue slightly changes depending on your relationship with Louise. So for us, because we confessed our love to her like a complete weirdo earlier on, that scene where when she's standing on the gallows and time stops and then she says we're better than her and we don't deserve her, that only happens if you did that confession early on. Which, it's a very serious scene. I'm not playing that for a joke or anything. Because, yeah, the option earlier on was sort of done in a humorous sense, like, haha, we're saying something we shouldn't. But if you want to make something or write something with some emotional impact, you got to take yourself seriously at some point. And for that whole, oh, I'm madly in love with you, to be a joke from that point on, like, I could either just ignore the fact that you said that, or I could, all right, we're taking that seriously now. And I'm glad I took it seriously because, yeah, like I said, you can joke, but you gotta have some seriousness about you. And the other endings, or like the other variations, like if you don't confess your feelings to Louise, she just doesn't talk to you at the end. She says her own thing, like her final words to the crowd. I think the one of them is she tells everyone she's going to see them in hell, which is a very apt summation of this entire story. Yeah, we're all going to hell. Well, everyone in this story is going to hell. Maybe not the main character, but you know what I mean. Yeah, this game has a weirdly like religious. It's very lots of religious undertones in it, even though I'm very much not religious in any way whatsoever. But for some reason, I just can't help myself injecting religion into everything I make. Even my next game is filled with it. I think like in the opening scene of my next game, there's a big like billboard on the side of the road that says "Hell is real." Just because I enjoy like the religious imagery and like the sort of, I guess, slightly cultish nature of it. It's a very interesting thing to write about, even if I don't like subscribe to it. Alright, I'm not going to explain the ending any further than it's sad, it's depressing. It's a summation of everything I was trying to get across before this point, that there are no happy endings, and especially not for characters like Louise. The world is an unjust place, and it sucks. Is that pessimistic enough? Have I met my pessimistic quota yet? Thank you for watching this though. I don't really care how many people watch this. This was very much an exercise for myself, as like a way for me to get myself talking about my own stuff, in a way that wasn't just like various ramblings of nothingness, because I'm terrible about talking about my own writing. And I realized that when I was showcasing my game, that I cannot explain a single thing about how I wrote like something in a convincing way or a profound way. And even if my writing makes sense, yeah, I'm terrible at talking about it. So it's kind of you gotta be both, I think. But yeah, this whole video series was my excuse to talk about my game and to try and improve my how I convey my thoughts in words. So yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, so this is the final episode of this series. Obviously, the game's done, but I might upload other videos to this channel. Those other videos will most likely be related to my next game. No guarantees on that though. I might just abandon this channel completely. But yeah, my next game, if you want to know what it's about some really pathetic guy trying to put his life back together in a way that I won't explain, but he pulls up into some Texas town, or his car breaks down and he has to essentially spend the day in this Texas town that is very much on its last legs, and it's very much less direct than this game in its story, less linear, less of like a straightforward narrative from beginning to end, and more open-ended in the sense that you can talk to who you want in sort of any order you want, and outside of like a few major conversations you need to go through. But yeah, I'm trying to make a more open-ended game that is more about like just the moment-to-moment scenes as opposed to the overarching narrative. So we'll see how that goes. I'm about halfway done right now, and I'm doing a lot more 3D art because I'm started off as a 3D artist, so I'm kind of putting all those skills to use in this game that I'm making right now. So yeah, if I make a video about it, I'll see you there. Thanks for watching.